right, this is the I AM RAPAPORT Stereo Podcast. We're about to get the official political correspondent for the I AM RAPAPORT Stereo Podcast. If you don't believe me, look on his Twitter page. We're going to get Mr. Eli Lake, who is a columnist for Bloomberg View, okay? So he knows what he's talking about. Why he spends his time as the unofficial political correspondent for the I AM RAPAPORT Stereo Podcast is beyond reason. But we're happy to have him as a part of the team, and we're going to discuss the debate, part 1, right now with Eli Lake.
Hey,
Eli.
Gringo Mandingo.
Yeah, that's my name. That's my name, Gringo Mandingo. I'm speaking to Eli Lake here, who is the unofficial political correspondent of the I AM RAPAPORT Stereo Podcast. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us, Mr. Lake. It's just me right now. Mr. Moody will be joining the podcast later. I know this must be a busy night for you. Enlighten the people as to what it takes to be a Bloomberg View reporter during the debates and to be a political correspondent for a podcast such as this during debates. Like, what is the night like for you? You have to watch it, take notes, send in a story. How does it work?
Oh, well, first of all, always a pleasure to be on the I AM RAPAPORT podcast.
Well, I appreciate it.
It's a great highlight. And as a national security, I focus mainly on the foreign policy and politics, but that's my main area. It's sort of like the national security stuff. So this is a situation where it's such a big debate where you got to watch it. I got my laptop out, you take notes. When you kind of hear something and you're following stuff on Twitter and you're thinking, I got to come up with something. And so I focused on one element of it, on the Iran stuff, because I tend to write about that in my columns. But I think overall, to get to the meat of it, I think Hilary did very well tonight.
Now, why do you say that? Like, break it down from a political point of view, because I wanted her at one point to be like, hey, fuck boy, answer the fucking question. I don't know if that is ever going to happen. And I just wanted her to be a little bit firm. Like, at one point he interrupted her and he was like, excuse me. And I thought at one point she should have been like, hey, fuckhead. Yeah, excuse me, I'm talking now. Now, first of all, before you give me your answer, do you think that's likely to happen?
I mean, in terms of she's a lifetime politician, right? She's been doing this, as he says, for 30 years. I mean, she bitch slapped him a couple times.
How so? Explain it, because I didn't catch it, because I was expecting a little bit more of like verbal intercourse. Shout out to the Wu-Tang Clan.
Well, to start, the whole thing about his taxes and how he won't release his tax returns. And she had a little bit of an assist from the moderator who said, we talked to the IRS. They said you can release it anytime you want. But then she said, well, I think I know why you won't do it. And she starts raising it in a very clear, easy to understand way. You might not have as much money as you say. You might have foreign entanglements that you don't want to mention. You might want to hide the fact that you haven't paid any taxes to the federal government. And that was, I think, really tough. And then the very end of it, and I think this is going to become an ad, she mentioned one of these, a Venezuelan Miss Universe. You remember Trump had the Miss Universe pageant? Yes. And that thing I thought was just like, that was brutal. And that's all. I mean, there's an ad that just went on the web with this, but that line was, you called her fat Miss Piggy, Miss Housekeeping, and guess what? She votes. She's going to vote this year. That is a very tough line. What right now they're fighting over certain constituencies, and there are, I think, women of all ages who are going to see that ad and they're going to see that clip, and they're going to remember some asshole in their life who said some horrible thing to them, and they're going to associate that with Trump. And that's like politically as good as it gets for something like that, to sort of question a guy's character like that. Right. Now, on Trump's side, he I think makes this point that, you've had all this experience and you haven't done anything. That's a powerful message, but I thought he was less focused. And the other thing is that he's trying to rattle her. She's trying to rattle him. He, I think, at times lost his composure. She never really lost her composure. She stayed kind of above the fray. She was firm. she delivered her punches, but she never kind of got rattled there.
Right.
And there were moments where I think Trump just is not going to understand the intricacies of the policies as much as someone like Hillary Clinton. So there's a little bit of an expectations game. But I think Hillary came off very smooth. And then, I mean, this is a minor thing, but because of that health incident that we saw, which clearly had an effect on the polls, the fact that there was no coughing and that she seemed relatively healthy and she seemed totally in command, that was, I think, another thing to her advantage as well.
Right. I agree. Now, what did Trump do well in this debate? It's still crazy to me that I'm even like having to ask this question, that he's actually gone this far. But to be unbiased, even though I am biased, I'm totally biased. I can't stand this fucking guy. I think he's full of shit. I think he's a shit talker extraordinaire. And I say that with all due respect because I'm a shit talker extraordinaire. But I'm not running for president. You know what I'm saying, Eli? So what did he do well in this debate?
Well, I think that he clearly is. I mean, so I don't know if he did this well. This is something that, to me, I'd love to hear Gerald Moody on this. Okay. But there was a moment there when they're talking about race, which is a huge issue right now in this election. I mean, we can agree on that, right? And it's like a big thing on everyone's mind.
Right.
And he mentioned Hillary's super predator remarks, right? In between saying he would bring back stop and frisk, and then right before he's asked about the birther stuff. And the birther stuff and the stop and frisk is like on one end of the spectrum of, that's on the racist side. But the super predator attack on Hillary was something that was originally brought up by Black Lives Matter. If you remember, they interrupted Hillary's speeches like a year ago when she was running against Bernie, or maybe 6 or 7 months ago, and they would ask her, why did you say this? It's like there's a C-SPAN clip from like 1995 or something, right? And I always thought, wow, this is 20 years old, and, Hillary does have a record on this stuff. I thought it was a little bit, but it's interesting that Trump would basically crib an attack from Black Lives Matter. That to me was like mind-blowing, right? I mean, where's this guy coming from? It's like he really does in some ways defy the traditional divide we have politically. In answer to your question, where did he do well? I thought that, and again, I am not persuaded by this. I just would say that his answer when everybody now says, you went on the Howard Stern show and you said, okay, you support the Iraq War before the Iraq War. Why do you keep saying you were against it? And he gave some other examples. Now, I don't know if they're true because we have to fact check everything, but he claimed to have had several conversations with Sean Hannity where they would debate the Iraq War. And I'm trying to imagine what that was like, right? But he was prepared for that. He had specifics and he sort of stuck to his guns. Even though I think almost everybody now in the media is like saying, wait a second, if we have the tape, and they keep playing it, but he stuck to his gun. So I guess that would be an example where he seems strong. I think overall making the point that he did, which I think is something that will play with certain voters in what they call the battleground states like Ohio and Pennsylvania, that Hillary Clinton, supported NAFTA and other trade deals, that jobs were taken away from places like Pennsylvania and Ohio. That's a strong message. I don't know if there's enough people who are going to buy that, though, because I still think Hillary's going to win.
Do you think his comments about stamina and her not having the stamina were relevant? Because as far as I'm concerned, Hillary Clinton has the stamina, physically and emotional, of at least 20 to 25 women. Her husband has put her through the ringer when he was president, and then she continues to, work in politics. This thing about the stamina is a joke. She's married to one of the a Hall of Fame stickman, and he's not even dead. You know how hard it is to be considered a Hall of Fame stickman while still living, still breathing, to have that honor, not posthumously. So
it's like a new category, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's not many Hall of Fame living stickmen. Usually, that's something that's given when a guy is dead and buried, and you look at all the data and the research. You know what I mean? Like,
is that Jeter's in that, right?
Jeter's definitely in that. But for example, Arnold Palmer, rest in peace, the great golfer. My favorite drink is an Arnold Palmer, even though I think an Arnold Palmer, which is a lemonade,
should be the Tiger Woods.
It should be a Tiger Woods.
I love that. That's one of my favorite early Rapaport jokes that I love.
It should be a Tiger Woods. Yet after he passed away, all of a sudden, the records and some of my sources told me that Arnold Palmer was a fantastic coxman, a great stick man. Yet while he was alive, he was treated as this dignitary, and he's like, the grandpa that you love. Bill Clinton, on the other hand, he's certifiable he's in the Hall of Fame as a fantastic coxman, a great stick man. And this guy and she lived through it. So for him to talk about her stamina, I think it's just not fair. Do you know what I'm saying?
She had a great answer on that, by the way, too. She said, when you visited 130 countries and, did this and then you had to stand for 11 hours in front of the Congress Benghazi committee, you tell me about stamina.
Right.
I thought that was a good answer. And the main thing, though, is that, the fact that she was poised and calm and clear the whole time was, that was the proof in the pudding. You know what I'm saying? Like she was not rattled by it. He was talking about bringing in Jennifer Flowers and stuff like that. And that's
like some WWE wrestling shit that he's talking about.
Absolutely. No. And this is what I'll give you some real, when it looked like Trump was going to win the nomination, which I credit you and Moody calling before everybody else in the mainstream media. You had it like more than a year ago. You're like, this guy's going to win.
Yep.
But when I'm talking about when the rest of us kind of caught up, the conversation that people had is when he's on that debate stage with Hillary, is he going to turn to her, look her in the eye, and say, why didn't you stand up for all those women that your White House smeared after your husband, screwed around on you and like that, and do that kind of thing? Like, how do you answer that, right? And he didn't do it. It seemed like, remember at the end of the debate, he said, there's something I was going to say. It was not nice, and I'm not going to say it. But, you do these terrible things against me. It's like he's threatening it. And everybody kind of knew. But that's what everybody thought, because he's so unpredictable and how she would handle that. But I kind of feel like at this point, I feel like Hillary, this is her moment. I felt she was very much in the zone. I think she performed very well.
What about this whole thing about him? He admitted, I was like, whoa. He said he doesn't pay federal taxes. Now I know you're not a financial person, but was that like some sort of did he fuck himself by saying I don't pay federal taxes? I'm smart. He must know all sorts of financial loopholes, don't you think? But did that raise an eyebrow out in Washington?
Yes, the whole thing that he's not releasing that stuff raises an eyebrow off the bat. And then there's all kinds of other things. You have to really get into this guy's financials, but he's got real estate all over the world. Who are his other investors? Does he have Russian oligarchs who are close to Vladimir Putin investing with him? Is maybe that why he keeps saying nice things about Vladimir Putin at a moment when nobody else is really saying that, at least in U.S. foreign policy establishment? That's a huge question mark. So the fact that we don't know a lot about this, I would just say one other thing, which I think is an important fact out there. The guy who co-wrote The Art of the Deal with him is now advising the Hillary campaign for no money, as he said in an interview with CNN, as penance for basically creating what he believes is this monster called Donald Trump. That's his co-author. The Art of the Deal is what made him a celebrity.
Right.
And the guy who basically wrote that book, because that Donald Trump didn't write that book. You always get an author, you get a professional writer, it's a guy like me, to help you write a book like that. The guy who did that, who spent 18 months with Donald Trump and wrote his bestseller, is like, I can't believe I'm responsible for this. I need to do something. I'm going to go volunteer for the Hillary and give them every piece of information I have to help her win this debate and win this election.
Right. Well, thank goodness, because she needs everything that she can. So there's a few more debates coming up, and then there's another one in October, right, in St. Louis?
Yeah, there's two. Well, there's two more presidentials, and there's going to be one vice presidential, which will be a snooze fest. That'll be boring.
Right. And now I'm trying to get something going, and maybe you could hook me up. You could run this up the flagpole with Bloomberg, because I felt like Lester Holt got pushed around by this guy. So I'm imagining possibly a last-minute change with Danny Aiello as possibly being the moderator. Do you think you could ask Mike Bloomberg about trying to pull some strings to get rid of Lester Holt and bring in Aiello, because I imagine it being something like this. You cocksucker! I'm running this fucking debate, you motherfucking orange-faced cocksucker! Don't you interrupt me, you motherfucker, you! Now, Eli, I know you just worked there, but I'm saying right now is the time to pull some fucking strings to get Aiello in there.
I mean, we need Aiello. I think you're right. I mean, first of all, everybody, it's so hard to do that. You're never going to please anyone. You know, like everybody was on Matt Lauer. And it's like, you know what I mean? Enough already. I sort of feel like if you do that, it's like a no-win situation.
But if you have a guy that's just, he's not taking any shit. If you have Aiello,
people are you're not going to see those interruptions.
No, because number one, he's, at the end of the day, Aiello's 82. Number two, he's a New Yorker too, and number three, like Aiello, even at 82, you're like, if they start fighting, Aiello's going to knock Donald Trump out. So I feel like across the board, it'll work. Like you need a referee in there who's going to control it. Essentially, a moderator is a referee. You can't have the fighters punching after the bell. Aiello's not going to have. I said, fucking stop, you cocksucker. I mean, that's what I'm saying. And what I'm saying to you is, Eli, I'm trying to tell you, like, don't you got a cell phone for Bloomberg? Like, maybe give me the number. I'll make the phone call. I want to get this done. He needs to moderate at least one debate. So it's on you to think about.
I do not have a cell phone number for Mike Bloomberg.
An email, something. I'll cold call him myself.
I hear you. I mean, Christ, I think it's out of Bloomberg's head. I think the debate commission already did it, but it is a very good idea. I agree.
All right, Eli.
I'd like to see that.
All right. I'm trying to help you change the world here. Help me help the world. All right, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you know, your insight. You know, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to Moody, and it means a lot to the podcast fans. Everybody loves you. I'll be checking in with you soon, and we still haven't met face to face.
We'll do it. I'm looking forward to it.
We'll do it soon, my man. And
tell Moody not to worry too much. I heard him on the recent podcast. He's like, "Oh, she's blowing it," and I could hear it. And I'm saying, I think you calm down.
No,
Hilary's got an organization.
I'm going to tell you something about my best friend and the co-host of the year, G. Monetti. He wants Trump to win so he could be like, "See, I was right." And I said, "You're letting your ego, G. Monetti, get the best of you, okay? This is not a time to try to be fucking, you know, card reading, gypsy person here. You know what I mean? So that's what he wants to happen. But I'm going to call him in a minute and get him on here, and we'll straighten him out. And, I appreciate Eli, and, please come back. And the official, unofficial political correspondent for the I AM RAPAPORT podcast is an essential part of the team. So I just want to, thank you again, my man.
All right. Well, it's always an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for having me on again.
All right, Eli. I'll talk to you soon, my man.
All right. Thank you.